Hello and welcome to ILiA Creative Writers Support Pod. And we're so excited because we have a special speaker. I'm going to turn it over to Karen to introduce our speaker today.
Okay, welcome everybody. Lovely to see your shining faces. And before I launch, I have a couple of announcements too. But first, first I'd like to endorse Icon 2026. Yeah, I was there too last time, and I believe Gary
Mhm.
was also. It was a terrific. It was one of the best parties I've ever been to. I only go if I think I'm going to enjoy it, and oh man, did I enjoy it! Like Roger Walsh said, you could not have a boring conversation. What a
Right.
terrific group of people to hang out with for 3.5 days. So I'm going to be at this one physically. So let's see, I have a couple of announcements here. Welcome, all of you. I think you are all familiar faces by now. So I want to bring up a possibility and bet. I hope you're still listening to this. The last time we met a month ago, I had the feeling that people wanted to hang out afterwards. Bet runs a tight ship. We start at 4, we close on the hour at 5, but people wanted to stay on and chat. So Bet, I'm going to propose, and Jane, we're the three
I'm sorry. I already announced
co-facilitators.
that, Karen. I'm sorry. I
Ah,
forgot to tell you that I already
did you?
announced it and I let them know, yep, it's happening.
Great. So we'll try this
That's
as a new
totally
form.
fine. Yep.
Sure. We'll try this as a new format. So we'll still, that's still going to close the recording on the hour, but then I'll stay on. I'll commit to staying on for at least another up to a half an hour for whoever wants to stay on, just as a social hour to chat, not recorded. So that's number one. Three here. Number two is I don't know if Bet already announced this since I was late logging on, but we are taking December off. But for this support pod, we do plan on starting again in January and continuing throughout 2026. We don't have any specific programs lined up as yet, but Bet and Jane and I will be talking to you and reaching out to other contacts of ours. We have a lot of really exciting ideas for programs to have in next year. So if you have some project of yours you would like to bring here, if you have some expertise you'd like to share, or topics you'd like to propose for us to investigate, please reach out to us. We will be reaching out to you and to other people. I know that Jane has a lot to offer. She's done several of these. She has specific coaching tips to offer. From my background, I'm thinking in terms of I could do a session on writers' workshops, the good, the bad, the ugly. I've had a lot of experience with a lot of them. What is a good one? What is a bad one? And how can you tell the difference before it gives you a writer's block? Um, or the English language. I have a background in the history of the English language and how you can use aspects of English to layer your text to get the to get the most effective impact of your prose. That could be a fun, because that would be a history of the English language, just with specifically how do we use that effectively in our writing. So these are a couple of things I could throw in the pot, and then we just know a number of people, us and other people, various of us are familiar with, who have projects that they have insights to share with us about how you get it written, how you get it out in the world in all the various ways. So I expect we will have a very rich year next year. And so at this point, I am inviting you to propose topics or presentations if you wish to. And Bet and Jane and I will be collaborating to put together a program for January, February, and March and on into the next year. And any further comments before, let's see, the next round, I think we have the time, since there's only about 10 of us. Let's go around and do an intro. Take about 30 seconds to a minute to say your name, where you are, and just in a little nugget, a few sentences, what brings you to this meeting or any particular project you're working on. So how about if I'll just make it simple and call on people in order I see you. Jane, I'll invite you to launch us here.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jane Simmons, and I'm coming to you from Kettle Falls, Washington, in my tiny house. We live on 20 acres out in the country, in northern Washington, near the Canadian border. I'm here. I'm really looking forward to hearing Andrea. I bought her book. I have it. I haven't started it yet, but I have it. And
Nice.
very, very interested in hearing what you have to say. I'm currently writing a book called, well, it's curriculum. I've changed it to, it's a course that I'm writing. You Can't Sleep. No, I have a book called You Can't Sleep Through Your Awakening. That's my book that I've written. But now I have a course called Survival of the Kindest. And very excited about the writing. I've gotten quite an inspiration from the other writing group that Karen and I are part
Nice.
of. So happy to be here, everyone. Looking forward to tonight's session.
Thanks, Jane. William, could you kick off next?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm William Cody. I live across the border from Jane up in Vancouver, Canada. And I'm here because I love Integral and I like writing. So what a better place to be.
And why don't you mention the name of your most recent book?
My recent book is called The Six Dimensions of Purpose. And it looks at purpose as a developmental model. You can find it on Amazon.
And go ahead and put a link to it in the chat. You know, all of you feel free, if you have a book or a product, feel free to pop it in the chat. What I love about William's book is that it is thoroughly integral, but it introduces integral to a modern business world without using any jargon whatsoever. It's very lucid.
That's cool.
And it's a beautiful example of very beautiful writing too.
Nice.
So
Thank you, Karen.
please pop that in the chat, William. So Sridevi, good to see. Oops, you just took a bite. We'll move on to David. David, how about
Hi, everyone.
and taking a pass is always okay too, by the way. So David, go ahead.
Hi, I live in Canada in a little town called Simcoe, about 13,000 people. I'm about 50 miles due north of Erie, Pennsylvania, so I'm close to the American border, as most Canadians are. I write speculative fiction. I do have a book on Amazon right now called God Bless Us Everyone, which is a dark comedy using Tiny Tim as a central character. It's overpriced, so I wouldn't recommend you buy it. I'm going to bring out another edition at a more affordable cost. And I'm currently working on another book entitled Vlad the Impala, which is Vlad is a nickname for the car, an Impala, a 67 Impala. And I guess the closest book I've ever read that would be similar would be Thomas's book, Thomas, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Ooh.
So it's sort of a very drug-induced coma type thing. So, another comedy, anyway. Not everything I write is comic, but these two are. So,
Thank you, David. So Sridevi, would you?
Yeah.
Care?
Thank you, Karen. I'm mainly here because I helped to organize the book tour for Andrea, and got to know her over 2 weeks while she was in Longmont, Colorado, where I live, and I came into all this because of Marco, and my prior experience with anything integral is with the Sri Aurobindo and the Mother's teachings in India, and also a little bit with Ken Wilber in Boulder. And I have a draft of a training manual in a type of yogic meditation practice called Yoga Nidra. And so I'm looking for inspiration to take it further. And after that, I would like to start writing a memoir, and with short anecdotes to begin with on my really a transcultural living of having moved from India to the US 51 years ago as a graduate student, and seeing myself now as the reluctant immigrant. There's lots of stories so that's where I am, and I'm very grateful to find inspiration in this group.
Thank you. We're glad to see you here, Sridevi.
Thank you.
So Lisa, you're next on my go around here.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Hi, I'm Lisa Moraski. I'm in Central California in Carmel, and I've written 2 books. The most recent one published by Marco is Embracing Paradox, Evolving Language. And the first one was a novel called The One That Is Both. They both take up the issues of language and the need to expand language to better be able to express integral consciousness. I've been part of the Jean Gebser Society since about, I don't know, 2011. I'm the treasurer now. Yikes. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Lisa. Moving on to Roshana.
Yes, I'm Roshana, and I'm in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And I come to these because I am a writer, and I haven't written all that much lately, but I'm very deep into my book, Merry Christmas Cosmos, which was published about a month ago, and a song that goes with it, and in the thick of all of that. Yeah, and I get inspiration here. I like integral people. That's why I'm here. And I'm also, Karen, especially inspired by something you said and have said more than once about we as integral writers, we have a responsibility to put good stuff out there, good integral thinking out there, positive leadership kind of things
Yes.
out there. And so that really landed
Yes.
with me. So yeah.
Thank you. And
Mhm.
that is my passion behind all of this. And I will intervene and say once more, this is from ILiA Prigogine, the Nobel Award-winning chemist, who said, in a system that is far from equilibrium, small islands of coherence have the power to shift the entire system. And I see the integral world as this network of networks of islands of coherence, and our little group is one such island of coherence. And we are in a massive shift, civilizational shift here. So
Yeah.
what we are doing is kind of helping sow the seeds for a future we hope for. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's my
And
passion.
it's so cool that this book has come back to come out because it's all about that. It just is. It's positive, wonderful, loving energy. Yeah.
Yes, I got a copy of your book, and I will be in touch with you to see how I can get copies to gift to other people as like in lieu
Oh,
of Christmas cards. So I'll be reaching out to you separately on how we can do that
wonderful.
practically.
Sure,
And
of course.
I guess that was my intro. I'm in Northern California and passionate about writing and all things integral. And I've got a novel in progress in the same workshop with Jane and several other people here. And with that, I think Gary, you're still up. It's your turn now.
Okay, I'm Gary Chamoy. I'm in Seattle, Washington. And my writing interest is I mostly write my Substack called Glimpsing Integral. And I write it in order to understand it. And sometimes it takes many drafts before I'm satisfied that I've understood some small segment of integral.
Thank you. And go ahead and feel free to pop a link to your Substack or to any of the things, Roshana, Lisa, others of you. Feel free to, and in fact, I would encourage you and warmly invite you to put links to your works in the chat so other people can access them. Bet, I know Bet's mopping.
I'll
You
do
wanna?
it. I'll do it. Hey, everybody. I'm Bet. I'm the ILiA Support Pod director. Yes, very important for a non-paid job. The higher the title, the less money. But I'm really excited. I have a Substack also that I spent a lot of time working on, and I'm actually starting to become very proud of it because I feel like it's doing a good job. But it is about the intersection of tech and leadership and creativity and having agency in the world, which I think, it's like a nonstop, it's trying to stop us from having agency, right? So I think we need to remember that. And I'm having a lot of fun. And my latest one was on going to this event, my latest, which was this morning, I guess. I went to this amazing event last week, or actually it was 2 weeks ago, where people are multi-passionate, like they're a scientist and a piano player, for example. And it was an amazing, beautiful, everyone here would have loved it. And then I also went to Tech Disrupt, which is a totally different thing. And I kind of combined the two, how we have to be brave and courage and have grit and storytelling nowadays to really be successful. Anyways, that's
Right.
mine. I'll paste it and the
Yes, please.
over to you, Karen.
Okay, well, with that, we introduce our presenter today, Andrea von der Loo. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Andrea last year had her memoir book published by Cosmos Cooperative's imprint, Untimely Books, and she's tells the story of her life. I've read it. It's very readable. It's intense. It's one of those you pick it up, you can't put it down, and the honesty and the openness and the it's so topical with all the issues arising today, and just to share her psychological innards with the world in this very healing way, to share her healing story with the world is very profound and moving. And so here, Andrea's, I think she's prepared her own presentation, but when I invited her here, I had basically three questions. Just getting this thing written, what was that like? Getting it published through Cosmos Cooperative Untimely Books, what would she like to tell us about that process? And then importantly with Sri Devi set up a series of events for Andrea in person in Boulder, I believe, and was very supportive. And I'd love to hear, because those of us who want to have books published someday, these are processes that we may be going through too. So what Andrea and Sri Devi have to share with us today, I know we'll all be very interested in. So with that, Andrea, thank you so much for coming today, and over to you.
Well, thank you, Karen. Thank you for the invitation. And it was interesting to listen to all of you. I really feel that I am offering my book as my small contribution to the world, for world peace, really. I was motivated in 1903 when this country chose to go to war in the Middle East. And I saw all these Americans wave their flags in enthusiastic support for America's superiority. I was horrified. I was so horrified. And I realized you guys don't know what it is like to have war on your soil. We don't have memory of that viscerally for decades, for centuries already. So that was my motivation, because that's all I have, is I have my story. That's what I can.
Yeah, let me just interject here. I should have added this to my introduction. Andrea was born in I forget, it was Holland or
I will
Germany,
share that.
but
Yeah.
good. She was born during World War II,
Yeah.
and so that was the
Yeah.
early
So
experience of her life.
I'm born in World War II.
Thank you.
My father, however, even though he was a Dutchman, he was born and raised in Germany and became part of the German occupation of the Netherlands. And at the end of the war, after the war, he was sentenced to death for war crimes. So this is what I had to live with as a child. I was 2, and I was born. I was 2 when our life completely fell apart. So, but I don't want to tell the story because it's all there.
Yeah.
I like somebody just showed it. The picture on the front cover is what Marco picked out of all the pictures that I sent him. And it is of my little girl. I'm looking through a train window This bar under here is a window, and my mother is behind me. And it is, I was particularly moved that he picked that because it is a picture of the vulnerability of my child self. And that is what I have had to deal with, of course. So writing. So the motivation came in 2003. And I realized, even though I write pretty well. First of all, I'd like to brag a little bit. People often say, oh, English is my second language. English is my fourth language. And I wrote it in English because that's where I am. And that's where my mind is all the way in English now. But I am not a writer as of my passion. I don't have to write. Like writers like you all, you write multiple books, you keep writing. I wrote this because I was motivated for other reasons to write. Now, I realize that since I don't have this I have to write thing, I realized to keep myself going, to be motivated to keep writing, if you write just you're here by yourself, and where's the audience? The audience is maybe sometime way in the future, right? So I chose, first of all, to go to a memoir class at the local college, and which was a really great experience. The teacher was very supportive of me, really loved my writing. And after that, I became a member of a writing group. And at some time, this was led by a woman who is a fine writer herself. She was very skilled at guiding these groups of women writers. And so that is where then each time we had a gathering, I had to bring something. So that's how I got my book done. And then at some point, the leader had to take a sabbatical, and the little group that I was in at the time, we are still together after 15 years and meeting every 2 weeks. There's 7 of us. And we're all writing all different things. Somebody writes haiku, others journal, others write, anyway. So because we met regularly, and then I knew I had to bring something. So I would bring a new chapter. And I just started from the beginning. I started actually from before my birth with my grandparents, because I wanted people to have a feeling of the families that I come from and that my father came from. So because there is such a judgment on, understandably, especially on Nazis, but on those people who are participating in warfare and commit war crimes, they are criminal, and now for the rest of their life, they are judged by their worst actions. Regardless of who they are as a human being. And our prisons are full of those. So one of my passions is that we need to get rid of our prison system. Because the massive majority of people in prison are people who have been abused as children. And then, of course, the minorities are there, the Black people especially, because they have that whole part of the population has been shoved into poverty after they were enslaved. And anyway, I could get on a high horse about that one. So that is how I kept writing. And I'm asked sometimes whether it helped me in my healing process to write. And I should say that I would write after I had already processed whatever I wrote about. And so the writing in itself didn't feel like it was important for myself. But then when I come into my little group and I read it out loud, now all of a sudden that's a different story, because now I speak it. And, as Karen said, some of the chapters are pretty intense. So then I would often burst into tears and have my feelings. And that was very good. And that actually can still happen. In the beginning, it happened when I did presentations. I would be moved to tears when certain parts of my story came to the foreground. And now, after having done it about 10 times or so, 12 times, I think, that is kind of abating. But that has been so. One reason why that is so good for me is that I get to have my feelings. So I discovered in the middle of my life, or later, in my 50s, when I did a psychedelic journey where I actually got to face my shadow, which is the Holocaust. It was a big experience. And after that, I realized how dissociated I had been all of my life, because I had never been any space for me and my feelings. And so I didn't have them. I would be unhappy or disgruntled or mad, but I didn't really have my feelings. So that is really a blessing for me, to share these things and then actually have the feelings. So that's about the writing. And of course, I never knew how my book would end, because I didn't know. And then when I hit 80, I realized I was done. So my 80th birthday is the last chapter in my life, and I'm now 83, and I'm happy, a happy camper, and I came to freedom. I am free. Yeah, I didn't know it was possible, but here it is. It took a long time, but so it goes. It takes what it takes, right? So that's about writing. Then in the last few years of my writing, when I was pretty much finishing that work, I was part of a small group that was organized by Marco Morelli via the Infinite Conversations, one part of the Cosmos Co-op. We were reading Aurobindo Savitri. Now, Savitri is a great epic poem by Sri Aurobindo that he worked on for 30 years. It's a 720-page. It's the single largest English language poem in the world. And the language is extraordinary. He was raised in England, so he was fluent in English, but he was also a linguist and a scientist, and absolutely brilliant. So then he became this incredible spiritually realized being. And he decided to write the poem, because he wanted to bypass the rational mind. And there's nothing like poetry for people to be able to absorb. So it's like a transmission. Every line in that book is like a transmission of consciousness. So I've been reading that since 1972, and I'm still reading it. That's my practice, is to read Savitri. One of the things I do. So we were reading Savitri. It took us 3.5 years to get through the whole book. And by the end of it, I was done with my writing. And, we had sometimes some personal conversations. And then Marco said, so I am interested in publishing your book. And I had known, I'd taken a few workshops about publishing, and I thought, oh, what a headache, And I do one thing at a time. So I said to myself, I'm just going to write now. And then when I'm done, we'll take it from there. So I was looking at the future of trying to find a publisher and not looking forward to that process. I don't like pushing myself. Anyway, so here I am offered, and it felt so auspicious. It felt like this happened under Sri Aurobindo's auspices. So that felt just like a real blessing to me. And the whole process of publishing with him has been amazing. And so his wife also participates. She's actually the one who does the whole layout. And so the final product is her work. And the placement of all the pictures as she did, and we did it. We went through all of it so that they would be all exactly in the right place in the text. There was really, I had been working with an editor all along. So when I had work, done, I would send it to her, this local editor. So she kind of looked more at the big picture. She did not do line editing for me. I wasn't ready for that. And it turns out it actually wasn't very necessary because the quality of my writing is pretty darn good. Somebody just gave me feedback and said, wow, the editing is really awesome because it all flows. And I'm going, that's how I write. I didn't tell him that, but it had nothing to do with editing.
Nice.
So I guess I am a born storyteller. And I remember over the decades, sometimes I would tell people a story, a part of my story. And they would always say, you have to write a book. And I'm going, yeah, right. That ain't gonna happen. But then it did. So, yeah, so we worked on that to get it really done pretty much to perfection. I haven't seen any errors in the book, which is kind of rare. And then so they are in Longmont, Colorado. I'm in Santa Cruz, California. At one point, Marco wanted me to come to Longmont because he said they had access to an audio studio, which was also a co-op, the Longmont Public Media Co-op. And he was a member of the co-op, so we could use a professional recording studio for free.
Nice.
And he said, are you willing to come? I said, yeah, absolutely. So I went for 3 weeks. I had no idea how long it would take to do the whole book because it's a big one. But we finished the whole thing. And then a marvelous thing happened when we started. The person who was in charge of that studio, Roger DiNardi, who is a musician himself and a really highly developed technician, he came to make sure that because Marco did the recording and I was sitting in this little booth with my headphones on and a microphone in front of my face. And so he helped him to set it up so it would be just as perfect as possible, right?
Nice.
So they're working on that. I'm sitting in my little booth, and then all of a sudden, Roger says, so would you read something? And I read the preface. And he went, wow. It was so amazing. It was like he got it. He got me, and he got what I was doing. And he was so enthusiastic. And then at the end of all the recording that Marco and I did, Marco said, so I can ask somebody from the co-op here to edit the audio. And I said, well, how about asking Roger? Because I had such a connection with him. That is the best way that I like to proceed, right? To have somebody who was actually feeling really connected with me and my work. So we invited him over and he was happy to do it. So he did an amazing job at the audiobook. He went through every breath and every word, I think 3 times in the whole book. It's really extraordinary and it is beautifully done. And what was very nice, I have a recording of my mother playing piano. And so we put some of my mother's music, Chopin and Prokofiev, in between the sections of the book, of the audio. So on the print, you get the pictures, and the audio, you get my mother's music. And it's actually really special to have my mother in my book because she's not very present in my life. So I have not much to say about her because there isn't much to say about her, except that she was a great pianist and she was a beautiful woman and she was very kind to me, but there was nothing other interesting about her because she was so shut down. She was emotionally shut down herself. So, and my father is this big, big living presence in my life, you know, first with the horrendous knowledge as a child that my country wants to kill my father. And then he comes home eventually when I'm 13 and everything changes. So, so that was about the publishing. How about, are there any questions about this part? Otherwise, I'll continue with the book tour. I'll tell you, when my first copy came to the front door, and it was this parcel, and I didn't know what it was, and I opened it up. It was an amazing experience to hold that book in my hand, to see it, and to see how beautiful it is with my child's picture on the front. It is, I was really very deeply moved that that is what it ended up looking like. Yeah.
Yes, I'll just interpolate here that Lisa also had a very good experience with the book layout. Her book won two. I think everybody here knows her book won 2 gold awards at the Nautilus Book Awards Club, and one was for the content, that was Lisa's, but the other was for the book layout and production.
Oh yeah, they did an amazing job. I was there when when Kyla was working on it, and she kept working on it and kept working on it. It was very complicated.
Yeah, Gary, Gary,
Gary,
did you have your hand up to ask a question?
Yeah, I apologize if I missed it, but I'm curious about the title, where it came from.
Yeah, the pressing stones comes from the Veda. So Sri Aurobindo translated the Rig Veda, and he was probably the first, I know he was the first human being on the planet who understood the Veda and the actual psychological and spiritual meaning of all the symbolism of the Vedas. So the pressing stones is a symbol that appears in the Rig Veda, and it symbolizes the difficulties we are given in our life to purify our being, to clear our unconscious formations and early misconceptions. You know, we all grow up kind of confused, I think, most of us. And so I was given lots of difficulties in my life because I needed to do a lot of healing work. And whenever I learned, it became very clear to me in the course of my life that whenever I was given a difficulty, I would be with it, stay with it, work through it. There was always a gift at the end. When you're in it, it's difficult. It can be terrible or distressing. But when you come through it, there's always a gift. And that is what the pressing stones symbolize. You press the difficulties, and the symbol is through the cosmic sieve, and out comes the wine of delight, the honey of bliss. So that the actual essential nature of life is bliss. Yeah.
Wow, thank you.
So that's the journey. Our journey is from darkness to light, from suffering to bliss. And
you've had an intense version of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so your connection with Cosmos Cooperative and with Sri Devi was through Sri Aurobindo?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it couldn't be better, right?
Right. And so, so this is a great way to launch in part 3, which was your experience with the in-person events that Sri Devi set up for you.
So I met the mother when I was 29, and so my life has been infused and guided by the integral yoga. So that's where the integrality is very central to me. And that is how I have attempted to live my life. So then, at one point, I don't know, maybe June or July or something, Marco told me that they had arranged a presentation in Longmont, in the Longmont Public Library for me. Would I be willing to come? Oh yes, of course. So this is where I am now. It's like I will show up. You ask me to come, I will come. You ask me to talk about my book, that's what I will do. That's the only thing I have left to do. So, and then I get a call from Sri Devi. And she says, so would you like to have some other events in, in the area? And I go, yeah. And she put her little engine in high gear. And she created 9 events for me in 2 weeks.
Wow.
9 events, an interview, library, bookstores, cafes, and the highlight of the whole thing was a whole evening at the Naropa Institute. And it was, I mean, even just speaking it now, it moves me to tears. It was a fulfillment of my life to be there and to speak with them and to be received by them. People were so moved. It was extraordinary. It was truly, truly extraordinary. After when it was all done, everybody was so happy. They all wanted to get a group photo. So we have a group photo of the whole group that was there. And it was truly extraordinary. So yeah, then I did all my presentations. And because I'm not worried about myself anymore, after all the work I've done, it was easy, you know. I just show up. I was able to, I made eye contact with pretty much everybody, everywhere. I felt really connected. People felt really connected with me. I felt a great openness and receptivity. And it was just a delight to show up. Yeah. Yeah, and then at the end to have, you know, have some questions. Sometimes the questions were really good too. That kind of opened up a whole other part of the conversation. And then the book signing, which then became very personal with people. So, wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
It
indeed.
was
Yes.
really, it was really a peak experience. Yeah.
Yes, I'd like to hear a little bit from Sri Devi about from her side of setting this up. But first, before you speak, Sri Devi, William, you have your hand up, I see.
Oh, yes, I was wondering, Andrea, does integral theory come into your story at all?
The integral
And how?
theory
And how does it?
is originally based on Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo is the first genius who wrote about integrality.
Right.
So there is
Yes,
what's
he's
his
a
name?
major source for Ken Wilber. A
Yeah,
lot of
Ken
Wilber's
Wilber is inspired
terminology.
by Sri Aurobindo.
A lot of Ken Wilber's terminology comes straight from Sri Aurobindo,
Yeah.
and
So
along
that's-
with the term integral.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
he's really
integrated
the source. He's really the source of the integral consciousness. Yeah.
right.
Where
So
are you? There.
so these concepts are integrated into your life story. Is that?
Yeah, except since I am not I'm not writing about anything. I am just telling my story. So yeah, those of you who have read the book, I don't know how would you describe it. I don't write about principles. I don't explain anything. I'm not an intellectual. So I don't fit in with the Ken Wilber group because that's just, for me, way too mental. I live it. I get it. I read Aurobindo. I get inspired. I live my life to the best of my ability in the aspiration to offer myself to the divine. Really, that's the core of the integral yoga. Is to live your own truth. That's not like living, it's not like so Sri Aurobindo and the mother, they did not want followers. They wanted you to find your own truth, to find the center in your being that is where the one lives, where we are all part of the one, right? I think we all know that here. We're all part of the one. There's all there is the one. And then there's this multiple manifestation. So we get to be unique and individual, and the divine gets to experience itself in multitudinous ways. And that was my aspiration, to offer myself for the transformation really of humanity into a higher consciousness. And the only thing I can do for that, me, is to work on myself. And now I have been able to tell my story and put it out in the world, and people are inspired. People are inspired. I get that feedback pretty regularly. I am very deeply moved that that happens. And I'm not telling them what to do. I'm not saying this is how it is. I'm not ever saying this is how you do it. I don't do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a
Andrea,
teacher.
Are you going,
Andrea, I was just
launching?
thinking.
I'm sorry,
I'm sorry,
follow
go
up.
ahead.
I
Go
was just
ahead,
wondering, are
William.
you launching the book in Holland?
I have only a few family members and friends who have the book. I am personally rather reluctant. I will not go to Holland with my book. The Dutch are still very angry, and they would be mad about my father, and I don't need that. I don't need to expose myself to that.
Hmm.
And
It
I
could be
wrote
a
for
healing.
America. I wrote for the American public, because in Holland, they know what war is like. They remember. They don't need to hear my story. But here, we don't know what, we go freely elsewhere in the world to drop bombs on other peoples, but we don't know it ourselves. So my motivation was really to write to you all, to the American public.
Thank you. I was just going to just a little quick comment, and then back to Sri Devi. I realized as you were talking, Andrea, about your core aspiration, the title of Lisa's first book is The One That Is All, if I recall correctly.
I love her book. I love that book.
Yes.
It was so charming and interesting how you did that, Lisa. How she put a whole different world on the page.
Yeah.
It was
Very different approach. But now so you'll use some of our remaining time for Sri Devi, were you the one who approached Andrea about doing programs in Longmont? And how did you loop into that?
Well, the little bit that Marco had told me about her, and then the picture of her child self on the book, just drew me in very deeply. And then when Marco said, she was also in India with Aurobindo and the mother, and so I looked briefly at what years, and so we were both there at the same times. And I was, of course, 10 years younger, and my father had worked with the mother over a 20-year period on helping to create a spiritual organization called World Union. So as a family, we went frequently to Pondicherry all through the years that Aurobindo was being built. I was there as a 11 or 12-year-old at the opening ceremony for the first groundbreaking ceremony to build Aurobindo and the vision for it. And I was also a college representative in the mothers group as a youth delegate to take on some leadership activities in integral yoga. And but just to go back to William and what he said, Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga is, in a way, it's based on the Bhagavad Gita, and where there are three paths of yoga, the yoga of selfless service, the yoga of devotion, and the yoga of seeking knowledge of the self, and how all of those three are then undergirded by the yoga of meditation. So it's loosely based on that as he developed his principles of integral yoga. And as Andrea was saying, Sri Aurobindo is the first person in the English language. English is an official language in India, along with Hindi. So in the English language, to use the word integral yoga. And since I was retired as a professor of yoga studies, so his work is so fundamental to this way of thinking about bringing different aspects of life into an integral path. And then for me, having taught at Naropa and being in Boulder, over a 30-year period, in some contact with Ken Wilber all along. So I could see how the fusion of the two are present now quite strongly. And to me, Andrea's book, when William asked about, how are the principles infused, I see them consciously as a reader, infused in how she works with her visions and dreams.
Ah,
So there's a real presence of the Jungian archetypes, but at the same time, it continues to integrate into her own awareness as she moves through the writing, and as she makes sense of her visions and presents them to the reader, the integration continues to happen. And so when I read it from that perspective, I can really feel the integration happening, and I, as a reader, will respond, and I take it into my own being. So it's really a beautiful manual for introspection. And so I got excited. It took a month for me to reach out to her because she hadn't sent me her phone number in earlier emails when I had asked. So then I let go, and I said, maybe, she didn't reply to, what is your phone number? And I'm not going to approach it by email. I need to talk to her. So one day in one of the meetings with Marco, I just said, she hasn't sent me her phone number in spite of my having asked her. And so a month has gone by when I could have done something already. And then he just said, okay, here it is, call her. So then I knew that the compulsion was high. I knew I had to connect with her. And I knew that this is, especially because, being at Naropa University, and we do use the principles of integral yoga in our beginning courses on yoga to introduce that. And then I would always have sections from Aurobindo books. And then I would introduce a little bit of Ken Wilber also. And Ken Wilber had conducted a series of meditations on our campus in the 90s. So I felt that I would be the best person to bring Andrea to Naropa University, and that, we may not have another chance. It's like Marco and I had gone to the library, Rangmont Library, that was set up so easily. And so then I knew, okay, let's build around that. And so I cleared a few other things in my life to be able to dedicate myself, and I got organized for, a couple of other friends who were authors in the past. So I knew which bookstores would be good to approach. And so 4 towns, it was not just Boulder. We went, I approached all the way back to Fort Collins, Colorado, which was my family home for almost 30 years. So starting from Fort Collins, Colorado, then Loveland, Colorado, then Niwot, Colorado, and Longmont Library, that was our biggest group. And then 2 in Boulder, a wonderful holistic bookstore called Trident. And then at the Naropa University, even though the student population now is like half of what it used to be, and it's a small college, we're only 1,000 students. But since more than half the students are now online, and we were not able to arrange a live streaming link at the last moment, the tech failed. And so it was whoever was going to be present. And my daughter also teaches at Naropa University, as I have retired officially 7 years ago. So she brought her Indian music students, Raga and Kirtan devotion students from the Yoga Studies program, since her class was overlapping. She said, oh, Mom, I'm just going to do this. This is going to be our practicum. And you've told me so much about Andrea and so much about Aurobindo over the years. I think for me and my students, it'd be great. So that was our main population, was my daughter's class. And,
Wow.
yeah, so we probably
And the
had,
staff, there were quite a number of staff were present.
yeah, faculty, yes.
Faculty, yeah.
Because that is, my main collaboration is with the faculty there. So we have the entire yoga studies faculty. That would have been 3 people. And then my main inspiration there was the chair of the interdisciplinary studies program, Ramon. And so he got enthused by listening to me and also to Marco's. He's also a friend of Marco. And so that personal connection from both of us helped. And he trusted me that this would be a great thing for Naropa to have. And he latched on. And then two other yoga studies faculty, the one who replaced me, and then the one who was my old student and colleague, they both completely trusted what I said about Andrea and said, okay, we're all going to be in this. And it became what we call a satsang, a
Yes.
gathering of the seekers of truth. It became an extraordinary experience for us to sit there in a way that Andrea held this sacred container. And we could just be in that space. And there was an open-endedness. We didn't have a time limit of how long we would go. We had the room for 3 hours if we wanted. And so it was helpful to just know that we're in this timeless moment together. And we are journeying in this together. That changed the whole nature of the interaction. And students at Naropa are very familiar with the aspect of surrendering to what comes in the moment. This is the kind of contemplative training they have. So they just received it from her. She just became a channel for this opening, the mother energy.
Mother energy.
Yeah. And much as she would talk about the mother, she became the mother there for all of us. That was true in every location. She brought the mother energy to everybody. And the way she made eye contact, the way she invited interaction, at the same time, the way she shared her vulnerability and her being okay with who she is in the moment. I'm okay where I am. What about you? I invite you to be okay where you are. That dynamic was so strong. And that brought relaxation and open to the depth of our own beings in her presence. So much as she claimed, no, I'm not a spiritual teacher, I'm not a guru. No, there were no labels needed because the transmission was happening. And that for me was the most exciting thing. It didn't matter that I heard her read the same stories, and it was just the dynamic that was created where the experience within me was different each time. And that's what this book does. And I think having her audiobook side by side is just exquisite.
Thank you. And well, that's awesome. And let's have Jane end the formal session now. The recording is stopped, but we can stay until up 5:30. Anybody who wants to stay on and continue. I mean, I am hooked. I'm on a spiritual path myself. And this is clear. This is the transmission coming through. That was one of the things that struck me. I mean, every part of your autobiography was striking, Andrea, but the years you spent, 7 years, I think, with the mother, that they're in Aurobindo, yeah. But just being just in her general vicinity, there was a very powerful spiritual flow from her all the time.